everybody, to Wisconsin weather experts on this Wednesday. A lot calmer than yesterday. The state of Wisconsin yesterday was a little active.
Yeah, we had a few things going on yesterday.
Yeah.
We've got a little recap on that in a second. We did have that freezing fog this morning,
True.
which was interesting. Fortunately, most of the highways were warm enough that it didn't become a very slippery mess out there. It was also in areas not prone to high levels of traffic.
Yeah.
It was mostly Dodge County, Fond du Lac County, and parts of Washington County as well. But it was an interesting phenomenon.
It was.
You know, when a cloud freezes to things it sticks to. So it's kind of a fascinating situation. But yes, we did have some interesting weather yesterday as well. We didn't see any actual snow in the Milwaukee area yesterday, but to our north it was a bit of a different story. Winter weather made its return to some parts of Wisconsin on Monday. Workers at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh did their best first snow operation of the year. Crews, of course, getting some of that early practice in to help clear off that runway.
Yeah, and now over to Eau Claire. Clearly busy in northwest Wisconsin as well.
Ooh, some big flakes there.
Big flakes, almost looks like lake effect type snow.
Yeah, right.
This was the scene in Eau Claire. They ended up with an inch or two of snow with this storm. I believe they were one of the spots that had that winter weather advisory.
Right, they did get that heavier burst, but it didn't last very long. But as you can see, it obviously caused some less than ideal conditions across that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did accumulate an inch or two. Well, there was no snow at Waukesha yesterday, but the folks there, they know how to do it right when it comes to winter prep. Brett Lemoyne has the latest on their push for new plow drivers.
Okay, yeah, here's the final version.
It may not be a blockbuster, but Waukesha County Airport Manager Kurt Stanich thinks this message will soar.
It will mean the difference between this airport being open or closed.
Why not Top Gun? Top Gun Maverick was the best aviation sequel, I think, that we've ever seen.
Last year, workers spoofed the 1980s comedy Airplane.
Surely you can't be serious.
It's all an effort to drum up interest from prospective snowplow operators.
So we're going to be training on that new equipment, and it's more airport dedicated equipment than we've had in years past.
Stanich says just 1 inch of snow can take 45 hours to plow. The labor jumps to 150 hours for 6 inches or more. Long runways and blowing snow require round-the-clock care.
We have flights coming in from not only across the United States, but departing internationally.
The airport saw 94,000 flights last year alone. Because the work is seasonal, Stanich says an attention grabber is needed to get people interested. After the airplane video last year, Stanich says he doubled the number of applicants.
Attention on deck.
Now I suppose acting is something that maybe you should put on a resume?
Yes, we do have a Kreitzfield Screen Actors Guild card that we will be issuing to anybody else who stars in one of our feature productions.
In Waukesha, Brett Lemoyne, FOX 6 News.
I love that. It just shows how creative
I love
people are.
The missed high five is the best. That's
I bet that
awesome.
wasn't even scripted either.
Yeah, that's right. It might have just been how it played out. Oh,
Right.
keep it.
Keep it.
Right. All right, so we weren't alone in the snow, of course. The latest storm system to move through Northern California left several inches of snow in the Sierra. So this is what it looked like this morning. Yeah, look at that.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, though. This is in Kirkwood Mountain Resort. Now, the resort, it says that with some help from their snowmaking machines, they did get 15 inches of fresh snow. So a little bit of Mother Nature, a little bit of man-made there. Kirkwood says it plans to open for the season in just over 2 weeks on Friday, December 5th.
Oh,
It's the
nice.
5th of December in 2 weeks? Wow.
No way.
Time is flying.
But I guess so. Thanksgiving is next week. Well, there you go. This is not Wisconsin. This is Arizona. Look at that. You have hail, a little bit of flooding with some of that rain. People in Arizona saw half-inch size hail yesterday as the wind blew up to 40 miles per hour during one of the thunderstorms that rolled through. There were several water rescues as well, and then road closures and even some damage from some of those storms that rolled through. So active in parts of the Southwest.
Very active stuff indeed. Okay, off to Vegas for our last stop before we get to our regional weather outlook here. In Vegas, people are posting images to social media showing the heavy rain. Wow, really significant downpours there. Storms caused some minor street flooding in the area, but thankfully there were no reports of damages. I wonder if anybody had a bet on the weather that day.
Oh, yeah. There were also severe thunderstorms yesterday in southern Indiana. And southern Ohio.
Right.
It was interesting to look at our weather map yesterday because here in Wisconsin we had snow. And you know, southern Illinois and Indiana, not too far away from us.
A short drive from us.
Severe weather.
It's been an interesting few days, and I'm thinking that we're going to get into an interesting winter pattern as well. But let's stick with the here and now. It's not technically winter yet.
You got it. In fact, today's one of our calmer days here in Milwaukee and across much of Wisconsin. There is still some activity across the upper plains and far northern, northwestern Wisconsin into northern Minnesota and southern parts of Canada, dealing with some rain, some snow mix. There's also still that low pressure system bringing rain and thunderstorm activity to the southwest. We just talked about Arizona as well as Vegas. And then the southern plains today, actually, another chance for some severe weather. A marginal risk actually put into place for some of those southern plain states. Now, moving out towards the west, you can tell that it is still a bit unsettled. Arizona still dealing with plenty of rain, still some snow in the higher elevations as you get towards the north into parts of Montana. And then another system just off the coast that will bring yet another chance for some rain to the Pacific Northwest here in the next couple of days. Speaking of those higher elevations, still some winter weather advisories in effect, so no changes there from the last couple of days. Here's that marginal risk for severe weather that I just talked about from southern New Mexico into parts of Texas, Oklahoma, as well as far western parts of Missouri and Arkansas. So not a huge threat, but the areas I just mentioned south of us yesterday were also under a marginal risk. So a few severe thunderstorms not out of the question in a handful of these communities. Also still seeing those flooding headlines. Clearly, the flooding was the biggest story through the weekend and late last week across southern parts of California, but there are still flood watches in effect in parts of Arizona, and now we're starting to see a few more of those in Texas too. So especially with some of the stronger thunderstorms that remain a possibility in some of these southern states, of course, the heavy rainfall will come with it. Closer to home, again, we're quiet across much of our state, but just out towards the west, you can see some rain, some snow mix, especially northeastern of Minnesota, but the rain does extend as far west as eastern North Dakota. Now, most of this is going to stay north. It may impact far northern Wisconsin throughout this afternoon and evening, but those of us in Milwaukee and points towards the south, we're just going to be stuck under the cloud cover for today. And that's exactly what we're looking at for the remainder of your Wednesday. There is the possibility late tonight into tomorrow that the state sees a few sprinkles from time to time, including those of us here in southern Wisconsin, but it's a very low risk. So as you're out and about tomorrow, maybe a sprinkle or two, but otherwise we're just going to have another cloudy day here. The good news is that as we get to Friday, and then especially over the weekend, sunshine will make a return. Now, Friday, there will be a storm system passing south of us, so we may still have at least a little bit of cloud cover from that sticking into our area, but the precip chance is primarily south of us. And again, the weekend is looking dry. Early next week is looking dry. So if you're planning on traveling this weekend or early next week, right now the forecast is in your favor across the state of Wisconsin. Planning, of course, ahead for the holiday, Thanksgiving holiday next Thursday. Hard to believe it is only a week away. Now here's a look at statewide forecast temperatures for the remainder of the day. It's still going to be chilly towards the north. High temperatures will only be in those middle and upper 30s. Down towards the south, at least a little bit warmer. Places like Milwaukee and Madison in the low, maybe mid 40s, and a little bit warmer the farther west you go and the farther south you go. As far as the real warm air, again, that is still consistently in our southern states. You can see plenty of spots going to see high temperatures in the 80s. That, of course, could still fuel some of those stronger thunderstorms going forward today. Even just west of us, though, the Dakotas seeing some 50s for highs today, and as well as areas towards the south like St. Louis. We are gradually going to climb here through the next couple of days. Tomorrow, we'll actually see almost a 10-degree jump going from low 40s today to low 50s tomorrow, and then we'll likely see those 50s sticking around from there. So you can see that upward trend, and by the time we see Sunday and Monday, you know, those 56-degree high temperatures don't seem very high, but for this time of year, you know, that is over 10 degrees above average. So we're to that point in time where these 50s, we really shouldn't be seeing them as often. So I would say just enjoy everyone we have the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. take them in, enjoy them. This is a
Yes.
big weekend coming up for the deer gun hunt. Of course, a lot
Very
of
true,
folks
yes.
will be heading out into the woods, and it will be at least more comfortable for the hunters. Hopefully it's cold enough during parts of the day to get the deer moving
Yes,
around,
right.
so it's a successful hunt, but at least you won't be frozen up in your tree stand. So there's a win right there for you.
There you go.
Another win would be if you would help us by checking out our brand new Wisconsin weather experts winter outlook. We just pushed it out
Ooh, breaking
on the
news.
website. I just heard from our digital manager, Carrie Doctor, who said he just published it and it immediately went to #1 on our website.
Oh,
It's the
fantastic.
#1 article on the website right now. So while you watch this, you can read that or you can wait. But either way, please do check it out. It's our brand new winter weather outlook, which is up now on fox6now.com. And it's also a great way to segue into this, because as we head into the winter season and really throughout the course of the year, we want you to be very weather aware, but you have to have trusted sources for your weather information. That's where Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks comes in.
Well, I want to talk about trusted sources when it comes to winter weather. As you know, things have really changed over the last several years, right? There are so many sources for weather information on air and online, which is a wonderful thing, but it's really important to know which source is which, because forecasts, as you know, can vary from place to place, especially in parts of Wisconsin, right? If you're closer to the lake, it might be different than inland, for example, but it can also vary from source to source. And you know that, right? Whether you're flipping channels or you're looking online, one source might say 3 to 6 inches of snow, another one might say 5 to 10 inches of snow, right? It can vary. So it's also important, depending on what source you're looking at, to really dig into that a little bit more. Why is that meteorologist or that source saying that, right? And we do our best to try to add the educational element in here, right? Because it's not just, hey, it's going to snow tomorrow. Around here in Wisconsin, there are a ton of ingredients or a ton of factors, especially when you add Lake Michigan into the equation. So we do our best to bring that science into the forecast as much as we can, because I think that really can help everyone understand the forecast a lot more. It's not just an easy type of a forecast most of the time, right, around here. So again, know your source and know that it can vary from place to place and source to source. Now, I also want to mention here that you want to stay up to date with the latest forecast. Why is that? Well, as you know, forecasts are fluid, right? They change. In fact, they can change hour by hour, especially when it comes to living by a big lake, or we see just a little bit of a forecast change in an area of low pressure that can drastically change snow amounts. So that's really important as well. Don't assume that by looking at a forecast from yesterday or even earlier today is the same as right now, right? So you really want to stay up to date with the latest forecast. And we can see that online a lot, right? In fact, I have heard from folks not only staying up to date with the forecast, but also the timestamps and keeping forecasts current online, because I've heard from a lot of folks on Facebook who will say, look, this forecast from 5 days ago has popped up. Why is this showing up on my feed, right? And it could be a big snowstorm or what have you that has already happened and already passed. We don't control that, unfortunately. So that's an algorithm deal online. So it's really, really important when you're surfing the internet that you know exactly the date and the time that that post was generated, because again, it could potentially be old, and we're seeing a lot of that there. So it's not only important to know the source, know that it's a trusted source, keep up to date with the forecast, but also make sure the forecast is up to date, right? So those are all really important points to make here, is that you really want to keep up to date with the forecast. And one other thing I want to mention here kind of goes back to human psychology. Don't assume that when you look at a forecast and it says 3 to 6 inches of snow or 5 to 10 inches of snow, that the assumption is the highest value, right? That's human nature. We're all going to look for that highest snow total, right? And we might tell our friends, hey, did you hear this source is saying 10 inches of snow tomorrow? be real careful with that because, again, as you know around here, those snow ranges can vary in just a couple of miles. And that's where the science of what we do really comes back to it, right? Whether it's lake enhancement or snow banding or different things that happen in snowstorms, we try to bring that to the forefront as well. But I know folks are really busy and they're kind of scrolling around. Well, this map says this map says this. Again, all of that is great, but just know your sources, know it's up to date, know that it's not old, keep up to date with forecasts, and just make sure that you have trusted sources because there are going to be maps floating around. You might hear a week and a half out, there's going to be a big snowstorm in Milwaukee. How many times have you seen this online, right? Big snowstorm in a week. Really? Like, we have a hard enough time predicting a snowstorm around here 1 to 2 days out, given all of the complexity that we have when it comes to our forecasts. So in other words, don't buy a forecast that someone might be sharing that happens to be a week from now. That's very much just a wait and see type of a ball game there until that starts to get closer. And then we can start to really drill down on the science more, the wind direction, for example, and so on the storm track. So again, just a quick reminder again that trusted sources are really important with all the sources that we have out there now. Make sure it's up to date and make sure it's trusted.
There you go, wise words.
Yep, fairly good idea. All right, we are going to be back in just a bit here. We want to time this well because we're going to keep an eye on a launch pad, not at Mitchell International. But we might be able to catch a live launch, so come right back. Don't go anywhere.
Well, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We got the whole team of meteorologists here today. Now, Holly Baker and I are switching in for Rob and Stephanie, and we're going to talk more about winter weather.
Yes, we are. So let's go ahead and dive in here, shall we? So during the winter months, low pressure systems originate from various locations, and they pretty much get their names. They pretty much originate from various locations to get their names. So our meteorologist Stephanie Barkello tells us more about that.
One of the storm systems that we deal with during the winter here in southeast Wisconsin is called an Alberta Clipper. It's become pretty popular for many spots across the upper plains or the upper Midwest as well as the Great Lakes region. What is it? An Alberta clipper, simply put, is a fast-moving storm system that develops, you guessed it, in Alberta, Canada. It rides the jet stream and favors the northern tier of the U.S. So again, the upper plains over to the northeast. These produce quick bursts of snow as well as strong wind, and oftentimes as the system exits, we see a drop in temperatures. How do they develop? It's thanks to the warm, moist Pacific Ocean air colliding with the colder air over the Canadian Rockies, and then that low pressure system actually strengthens as it moves over the leeward side of a mountain, which is the mountain that's protected from the wind. Then it hops onto that jet stream, which is why it's such a quick moving storm system, and again will then favor parts of the upper plains or the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, as well as the Northeast. And just for fun, there are a couple of other storm systems or clipper type systems that originate in Canada. We think of the Alberta clipper, which again is all because it develops across Alberta, but we also have the Saskatchewan Screamer, a storm system that develops in Saskatchewan, Canada, and a Manitoba Molar. A little less popular, those last two, but they are all clipper-type systems. They just develop in different parts of Canada. They're all quick-moving storm systems that bring quick bursts of snow and strong wind, and once again, favor the northern tier of the U.S.
Well, thanks, Stephanie, for that. And of course, it's Winter Weather Awareness Week. We have been talking about winter weather preparedness as well as ways that you can get alerts. Tom has been giving us a lot of information as well. And Holly, we're going to get something from you tomorrow. So if you want to continue again to stay with us, and we hope that you do, we will be continuing to talk about our Winter Weather Awareness Week. Of course, as winter approaches us, we're still technically in fall, even though we've had some snow, but we are going to have more snow and cold on the way.
I can't wait.
Can you?
I love the snow.
Holly, I think you really got into the snow vibe, the snow fever from experiencing it last year. So we're hoping for some sort of decent snow this year as well. Well, let's take a live look outside right now. Of course, it is still a little on the cool end. We have some sunshine, but those clouds are with us. One thing we are going to be watching, though, is next week. It's Thanksgiving. Can you believe it? We're going to talk more about some Thanksgiving topics after the break.
Gobble, gobble. Welcome back, you guys. It's time to talk about something I love, which is food. And Thanksgiving, we have a lot of that to really cover, too.
We do. And speaking of turkeys, here's an important annual reminder to not deep fry your turkey inside your house. If not, this could happen. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says there are 1,600 cooking-related fires every Thanksgiving in the U.S. There are several reasons deep frying a turkey can go wrong. If the bird isn't thawed all the way, the hot oil turns ice inside the turkey into steam, causing the bird to explode. Plus, the oil pot can also tip over, spreading oil, and more importantly, fire everywhere. Of course, we don't want that.
Right. Yeah, you don't want that. That's not very safe for us. And we even continue on the topic, too. With more people cooking this time of year, safety has to be the top priority. So Fox's Avery Klonowski talked with firefighter Joe Smith about safety concerns on Turkey Day.
I don't cook 363 days out of the year. You know, Thanksgiving is the one day the oven gets turned on.
Preparing a Thanksgiving meal can be chaotic.
Kids are running around, the doorbell's ringing, you're making sure that the house is clean. You have a lot more distractions than you normally would on any other cooking day.
While people are loading up their plates, sometimes a lot of that food ends up in the sink.
Can't eat it all, your eyes get bigger than your stomach, and you start throwing these things down the disposal or down the drain, and you start getting that backup happening.
Matt McCormick with Whipple Service Champion says the most calls they get over the holiday are about kitchen sink problems.
And then we have that start to back up, and even if it doesn't completely block it off, it'll slow it down. Water either raising up as you're trying to let it go down and not going down, or very slowly going down even if you're running the disposal. Sometimes we'll get some of these where they'll seize up and stop working.
So what shouldn't go down the drain?
Big one is potato peels, eggshells. People think you can just use the disposal, grind them up, send them down. They do like to kind of gather together and create those blockages.
When it comes to grease, never pour it down the sink.
You are able to find a disposable container to pour that into, let it set, and then just throw it away in the garbage.
Drains aren't the only concerns.
One of the worst things that we see on Thanksgiving is we have a boiling pot of water. Kid comes up and pulls down the handle. So make sure your handles are turned inward.
John Smith with North Tooele Fire District says have oven mitts on hand, baking soda, and know how to handle kitchen fires.
This is the best way to put out a grease fire. Also, we have our fire extinguishers at the ready.
Should anyone experience a burn,
you want to run that burn under lukewarm water, not cold water. That's the myth.
For those that brave the task of deep frying the turkey,
you put a frozen turkey in that deep fryer, you're gonna erupt in flames. So just in case, make sure you're outside. You want to make sure you're on concrete. When in doubt, call us out.
In Salt Lake City, Avery Klonowski.
Of course, it's a great reminder, especially as I think a lot of people will be in the kitchen the next couple days. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. Catch us tomorrow at noon.